She tried to evict him again, but this time the house she wanted to take back was already his. What happens when a black detective exposes an HOA tyrant with a hidden past? The entire neighborhood will never be the same. Jordan Price stood on the front lawn of his new home, the summer breeze brushing against his uniform shirt as he exhaled a long breath of relief. After a decade of night shifts and street patrols in downtown Atlanta, the promotion to detective came with a modest bump in pay and a big leap in lifestyle. Willow Ridge Heights was everything he and his wife Tiana had dreamed of. Tree-lined streets, low crime, polite neighbors, and enough quiet to finally sleep without sirens. Their new house was a beautiful two-story brick colonial on a corner lot. It had a wraparound porch, freshly trimmed hedges, and room in the back for Tiana's dream garden. A foreclosure the listing had lingered for months until Jordan stumbled upon it during a background check for a fraud case. He recognized the address immediately, not because of the home's charm, but because he had once seen it filed in a foreclosure report under a familiar name, Gloria Huxley. The same Gloria who now served as vice president of the Willow Ridge HOA. But he hadn't told Tiana that yet. For now, they were focused on building something new. A home, a future, a second chance. The first few days felt like the start of a dream. Welcome baskets showed up on the porch, the fans next door waved with friendly smiles. Even the mailman dropped off a handwritten note that read, "Welcome to the neighborhood, Officer Price." But Jordan couldn't shake the feeling he was being watched. As he moved boxes from the garage to the foyer, he caught the twitch of a curtain across the street. A dog walker paused just a little too long near the mailbox. Conversations nearby seemed to end when he passed by. "Maybe they're just curious," Tiana said. "New family, new faces?" Jordan nodded but made a mental note. People notice what they don't expect. A black cop in a white suburb. That's enough to rattle an illusion of order. 3 days and a sharply dressed woman with a perfect bob haircut and a clipboard approached their porch. She wore a beige blouse with a Willow Ridge HOA pin and pearl earrings that gleamed in the sun. "Detective Price, I presume," she said, with a tight smile. "Just Jordan is fine. I'm Gloria Huxley, HOA Vice President." That was the moment the welcome ended and the surveillance began. Gloria didn't come to chat. She came with an agenda. "I trust you received the HOA handbook," she said, tapping her clipboard. "We did." "Quite a thorough document," Jordan replied, keeping his tone polite. "We pride ourselves on our order. Willow Ridge isn't like the city. We value harmony, image, and consistency. That's how we keep our property." "Values intact," Jordan nodded. "Understood." "Good," she said, then peered past him into the house. "Your trash bins were out before 6 a.m. yesterday." "Just a reminder that's against regulation." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "We didn't put them out. Must have been the last owners." "Regardless," Gloria said coolly, "please ensure it doesn't happen again. Rules apply to everyone." As she walked away, Jordan stood quietly watching her back. Retreat across the neatly paved street. A strange chill prickled at his skin. That night, as he recounted the visit to Tiana, she frowned. Why does it feel like she wasn't welcoming us, but warning us? Jordan leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. Because that's exactly what she was doing. Over the next 10 days, the letters started coming. First, a warning about the mailbox height off by exactly 2 inches, according to her ruler. Then a violation for overgrown grass, even though Jordan had mowed it 3 days prior. A third letter claimed his porch light exceeded brightness standards. The final straw came when he received a citation for a non-compliant welcome mat. Tiana picked up the last letter and laughed bitterly. "This is insane. She's building a case," Jordan murmured, reading the fine print. "A case for what?" "Pushing us out." It wasn't paranoia, it was a pattern. Jordan drove around the neighborhood one morning and photographed house after house, trash bins still out after pickup, bright porch lights, mailboxes taller than his, and not a single citation on any of them, only theirs. That night, he started a file folder labeled dated timestamped. Gloria Huxley was about to learn she picked the wrong family to harass, because Jordan Price didn't just know how to follow the law, he knew how to prove it was being abused. 2 weeks after they moved in, Jordan opened the front door to find Gloria standing on the porch again. No knock this time, just her arms crossed, eyes cold. "I need proof of ownership," she said without preamble. "We've had reports of non-compliant activity, deliveries, unfamiliar vehicles. People are concerned the home might be illegally sublet." Jordan's jaw tightened. "I own this house. You can verify that through public records." "I prefer direct confirmation," Gloria replied, handing him a printed form. He took it slowly, meeting her gaze. You didn't ask anyone else for this, did you? Her silence was answer enough. Later that evening, Jordan pulled a familiar file from his drawer. Inside were foreclosure records, HOA liens, and one very important deed. Gloria had no idea she had just tried to evict the man who now legally owned the very house she once lost. The tables were about to turn. Jordan didn't need to dig far. He already had everything filed from the day he made the purchase. The foreclosure trail was ugly unpaid HOA dues, mounting fines, refusal to comply with the very same rules Gloria now weaponized. And then came the irony. The woman currently accusing him of undermining the community had once lived in this house, had lost it, had buried that part of her life under layers of clipped smiles and community standards. And now, without realizing it, she was trying to push out the new owner of her former home. Tiana sat on the couch, jaw clenched, flipping through the documents. She knows, doesn't she? She asked. I don't think so, Jordan said. But she suspects something. That's why she's pushing harder. Trying to force me to break. She's not just enforcing rules, Tiana muttered. She's trying to reclaim what she lost. Jordan nodded slowly. Exactly, and she's using the HOA to do it. That night, he made a decision. No more polite tolerance, no more letting it slide. The next HOA board meeting was on the calendar, and Jordan Price would be ready. The pressure didn't stop. Gloria shifted tactics. Instead of direct violations, the rumors began. Jordan caught the sideways glances, the whispered comments. An older woman at the community mailbox asked if he was the renter. A neighbor paused while jogging and asked, "You planning to stay long?" Even kids playing nearby stopped talking when he passed. He wasn't just being excluded. He was being othered. Tiana noticed it too. You'd think we painted the house neon green with the way they act. She's poisoning the well, Jordan said. If she can't break us with citations, she'll make us unwelcome through whispers. He had seen it in law enforcement. Accusations without proof, isolation without confrontation. It worked better than open conflict because it left no fingerprints. But Jordan was a detective. He knew how to trace the source. Jordan began documenting everything. He installed a discreet security camera near the mailbox. It captured Gloria, standing for nearly 5 minutes one morning, snapping pictures from different angles. That same day, they received a violation notice for mailbox tilting. He captured audio of a conversation between Gloria and another board member right outside his garage. We have to set a standard, she said. People like that don't always understand what it means to live here, the words burned. People like that, he printed the still images, transcribed the audio, matched the timestamps. This wasn't about standards, this was personal. Then came the final blow, a letter from the HOA attorney threatening compulsory compliance procedures, a veiled threat that if he didn't resolve his escalating violations, the board would begin steps to force the sale of the property. He brought the letter to Tiana, her hands trembling as she read it. She wants to take our house, she whispered. No, Jordan replied. She wants to take back hers, but this time she's not getting it. The Willow Ridge HOA met once a month in the community clubhouse, a faux colonial hall decorated with flags and fake plants. On the night of the special session, it was packed. Neighbors whispered and sat stiffly. Some wouldn't look at Jordan. Others offered quick, quiet nods. At the head of the table sat Martin Lowell, HOA President. Gloria sat beside him, her usual clipboard replaced with a thick file. We'll begin with Item 1 enforcement review regarding 198 Heather Grove Lane. Martin said, Vice President Huxley, you may present. Gloria stood and delivered a list that sounded rehearsed. This homeowner has accrued 12 documented violations in under 30 days. From improper lawn edging to unregulated porch furniture, there is a pattern of disregard. She passed photos Jordan recognized every single one, most taken without consent. Given the pattern of non-compliance, I recommend initiating corrective legal action per Article 7 of the HOA bylaws. Martin turned to Jordan. Detective Price, would you like to respond? Jordan stood slowly, holding up his own binder. I have evidence to present. Not just to clear my name, but to show how this board has been used to settle personal scores. Jordan began calmly. He handed each board member a file time-stamped photos of identical violations at other houses, none of which had received letters, recordings of Gloria's words, copies of her past foreclosure, including the deed that now bore his name. This house, he said, placing one final sheet in front of them, was repossessed from Ms. Huxley 2 years ago due to unpaid HOA dues. She herself ignored. I bought it at public auction legally, transparently. The room froze. Gloria's face paled, her lips pressed tight. This isn't enforcement, Jordan said. It's retaliation, a personal vendetta using the language of law and order. And I've got enough documentation to take it far beyond this room if I have to. A quiet buzz filled the air. Martin looked at the files in front of him. One of the board members, an older woman with a trembling hand, whispered, "My God." Gloria tried to speak, but Jordan held up his hand. "I have more recordings, photos, timelines. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here to remind you all, if you use rules to hurt people, you shouldn't be trusted to enforce them." Martin cleared his throat. "We'll take this under immediate review." Jordan sat down. Gloria did not. Gloria remained frozen at the table, her knuckles white around the edges of her file folder. The silence in the clubhouse was thick, heavy, with the weight of revelation. Martin Lowell finally spoke. "We'll be reviewing the enforcement history presented tonight. Until then, any further actions regarding 198 Heather Grove Lane are suspended." Gloria's voice cut in sharper than before. "You're making a mistake." "No," Martin replied evenly. "We're correcting one." Jordan didn't gloat. He knew better. Public victories often turned into private backlash. As he left the room, several neighbors looked his way. Some avoided his gaze, others gave subtle nods. But one man, Daniel Fan, approached him quietly in the parking lot. "You should know," Daniel said, "Gloria's been doing this for years. She's just never gone this far. Most people didn't have the time or the proof to fight back." Jordan nodded. "She picked the wrong one this time." Daniel smiled faintly. "No, she picked the right one to finally stop her." 2 days later, an official notice arrived from the HOA board. "Subject review of past enforcement activity. Immediate action required." The message was brief but significant. An independent audit had begun reviewing every citation issued by Gloria over the past 3 years. The board requested access to Jordan's submitted evidence as part of the review. At the bottom, a quiet line stood out. "Thank you for your courage and your documentation." Tiana nearly cried when she read it. "It's not just us anymore," she said. "This could change everything." Jordan nodded but kept his expression guarded. "Let's not celebrate just yet. This is the part where people like Gloria lash out." And he was right. The next morning, an anonymous neighborhood-wide email blast hit every inbox. "Is this who we want enforcing standards? A man who films his neighbors, who stalks board members, who weaponizes his badge for intimidation." The sender, an account linked to Gloria's sister Jordan, printed the email and added it to his growing folder. She was spiraling, and the board was watching. The following week, Martin Lowell showed up at Jordan's doorstep, folder in hand. "I wanted to give this to you personally," he said. "It's the board's official response." The letter was short and clear. All previous violations against Jordan's property were voided, and Gloria Huxley was suspended from the HOA board pending a final vote. Martin looked tired. "We found over 40 examples of selective enforcement, racial patterns, personal vendettas. It's deeply troubling. She used the HOA like a sword," Jordan said, "and expected no one would ever question it." Martin hesitated. "Would you consider running for the board? We need people who care about integrity." Jordan gave a dry chuckle. "I came here for peace, not politics." But as he watched Martin walk away, Jordan knew the board wasn't the only thing changing. The entire neighborhood had seen the truth. At the emergency HOA meeting the following Thursday, the community hall was full again. But this time the mood was different. No one sat beside Gloria. Martin stood before the podium. "We've concluded the audit. Based on our findings, and by a unanimous vote of the board, Gloria Huxley is hereby removed from all HOA leadership roles, effective immediately." He didn't look at her when he said it. Gloria didn't speak. She rose, gathered her papers, and walked out. No one followed her. Not even her allies, those who once whispered with her behind fences and driveways, could pretend anymore. After the meeting, several neighbors approached Jordan and Tiana. "I'm sorry," one woman said. "I should have spoken up sooner." Another muttered. Jordan accepted the apologies with a quiet nod. He didn't need their guilt. What they needed was change, and it had just begun. A week later, Gloria Huxley officially moved out of Willow Ridge Heights. Word spread fast. She had been living with her sister, falsifying her address to stay on the HOA board. Her house, like her influence, was gone. That Saturday, Jordan and Tiana hosted a casual backyard cookout. Nothing fancy, just food, laughter, and a table with extra chairs. Daniel Fan brought homemade spring rolls. The Millers brought their kids and a basketball hoop. For the first time, no one hesitated. As the sun set, Jordan stood on his porch and looked out at the street. It felt different now. Warmer, looser, real. Tiana slid an arm around his waist. "We did it." "No," Jordan said softly. "We just reminded them of what a neighborhood is supposed to be. And with that, they walked back inside into a house that had once been a battleground and was now finally a home. Gloria Huxley's departure didn't go unnoticed, but it wasn't celebrated either. The neighborhood didn't erupt in cheers or snide comments. Instead, it settled into something more valuable: relief. A silent collective exhale, as if the weight of micromanagement had finally lifted. Lawn gnomes reappeared. Porch lights stayed on past curfew. People smiled more. Jordan watched it all unfold from his front porch, but he didn't feel triumphant. He felt responsible. It's strange, he told Tiana one night, how quickly peace returns after a bully leaves. She looked at him. That's because you didn't just confront her. You exposed the system that allowed her to thrive. Jordan nodded. Still, she'll try again somewhere else. Tiana took his hand. Let her, this neighborhood won't fall for it twice, and Jordan knew she was right, because now people were finally paying attention. Martin Lowell reached out again this time, inviting Jordan to join a newly proposed Neighborhood Fairness Committee, a group designed to prevent future abuses and ensure HOA rules were enforced equally and transparently. I can't promise I'll be nice about it, Jordan joked. I'm not asking for nice, Martin replied. I'm asking for honest, Jordan accepted. At their first meeting, they reviewed recent complaints, real ones about cracked sidewalks, broken gutters, unsafe wiring, the kind of issues that mattered. The neighbors were different now, too. They showed up, they asked questions, they didn't defer to authority blindly anymore. Daniel Fan, now on the board himself, leaned over during one meeting. You know, you didn't just win. You flipped the whole playbook. Jordan smiled. We're just getting started. Months passed. The Price home became a kind of symbol, not of victory, but of resilience. Tiana's garden bloomed in full color, stretching around the wraparound porch like an embrace. A new mailbox regulation height, of course, stood proudly at the curb, now with a small security camera perched discreetly beneath the roofline. Not because Jordan feared another Gloria, just habit. A reminder: vigilance doesn't mean fear. It means readiness. The neighborhood had changed subtly but permanently. Parents felt freer letting their kids chalk on sidewalks. Music drifted through open windows on weekends. Violations didn't vanish, but now they came with explanations. Not threats, Tiana noticed at first. We don't feel like guests here anymore. That's because we're not, Jordan said. We own more than just a house now. We've earned our place in their story. On the anniversary of their move-in, Jordan and Tiana hosted another barbecue. This time it wasn't about making peace. It was about celebrating it. Neighbors brought dishes and stories. The Millers shared how their kids used to be afraid to put toys on the lawn. The Patels laughed about their illegal garden statues that were now HOA-approved decor. Even Martin brought a bottle of wine with a ribbon that read, "For service above regulation." As the sun dipped behind the rooftops, Daniel Fan raised a glass. To the Prices, he said, for teaching us that the law is only as fair as the people who enforce it. Jordan shook his head. I didn't teach you that, Gloria did. They laughed, but the message stuck. This was no longer a tale about conflict. It had become a lesson about community. 1 year later, Willow Ridge Heights had become unrecognizable in the best way. The HOA bylaws had been revised to include safeguards, randomized inspections, anonymous complaint reviews, and a 3-strike system for board member misconduct. And at the center of it all was Jordan Price, who never asked for power, but used it with purpose. On a quiet evening, Tiana joined him on the porch, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea. You ever wonder if she drives by? She asked, referring to Gloria. Jordan chuckled. Maybe, but I doubt she'd recognize the place anymore. And that was the truth. The house Gloria once tried to weaponize was now the home that helped fix a broken system. And Jordan, he wasn't just a resident. He was a steward of fairness, of strength, of quiet justice. As the sky dimmed and porch lights clicked on across the block, Jordan sat back in his chair, proud not of what he had taken down, but of what he had helped build. Rules exist to protect, not to oppress. But in the wrong hands, even neighborhood guidelines can become tools of control. True power doesn't come from intimidation, titles, or fine print. It comes from standing your ground with truth, patience, and courage. And sometimes the strongest voice is the one that refuses to stay silent.